What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to Beyond the Nines. We have a very special guest for you today. We have Rob Tanner from The Athletic. First of all, Rob, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm loving the Euros. I'm loving the football that's going on. It's been 24/7 on top of keeping up with everything that's going on at Leicester City as well. It's been a very busy period.
Yeah, it really has, especially since the football has essentially not stopped. But yes, I imagine we've got obviously Ant and Alex with us as per usual, and we're just gonna cover all things LCFC because there's just so much to talk about. But I just want to go into the first thing, which is obviously transfers. We've seen today Daka has been announced, and I remember in the Athletic article, which again, just as a plug, it's at £1 a month. It's well worth checking out at the moment. There's a link in the description down below as well for Leicester City as well. And Rob could definitely plug them a little bit more later. But I think you said there were 6 positions we were looking for, and striker was one of them. So that looks like that one is pretty much sorted. And a lot of people have been saying, who is Jamie Vardy's replacement, especially from the outside? And this seems to have fit the bill perfectly.
Yeah, I think it came down. I mean, they had a lot of contenders. I think it came down to Patson and Edouard Celtic. But I think this one, they weighed it up. And I think his potential is so high. The value for 23 million for a player that scored so many goals in the Austrian Bundesliga and really come on a bunch. Look, his style of play suits Leicester. He likes to run in behind. He's quite physical. He's got great pace. I think they just weighed it all up, and not only was it the better financial deal, but it was also the better long-term deal. But I got to stress, this is a long-term signing. I mean, it's a 5-year contract. So, and I don't think, I mean, let's be honest, Jamie Vardy, is he fit? He plays. So Patson's going to have to be patient, and I hope the fans are going to be patient with him as well, because if you look through his career, and I've had a look at his career quite in depth for an article that's gone on today on The Athletic, speaking to some people that knew him back in Zambia, and he's been rushed through all the way from an early age, as they tend to do in Africa. They identify these talents very early, and straight away they're playing men's football when they're still very, very young. And I mean, he made his international debut when he was 16. I mean, this is how highly rated he has been in Zambia. He's seen as a bit of a wonderkind, and but he's it's taken him a couple of years each time he's taken that step to get used to it. When he went to Austria, he went to Salzburg's feeder club first, and then they had a look at him for 6 months. Then they signed him more permanently. Then they promoted him to Salzburg. And it took him a year or two to get up to speed. And the last 2 seasons, he's been a phenomenon over there. Absolutely. He's won everything he can possibly win. So the timing is absolutely right for him. His age is wonderful for Leicester as well, because there's so much potential there. And that's what Leicester do. They shop in a different market to all the rivals, all the clubs that they plan to upset and have been upsetting over the last few years. So they have to shop in a different market, and they found this kid, and they keep finding these players. Samari is another one that's going to be coming in, who fits that bill as well. Young, loads of potential, starting to flourish. I mean, he obviously just won the French title with Lille, so he's already there in many respects. But there's a bit of time for him as well. But Patson particularly, I think he's going to be given time. You might not see him a massive amount next season. Vardy will still lead the line. Kelechi has come to the fore in the last season, but eventually you'll see Daka, and long term he could be Vardy's replacement, but time will tell.
Yeah, I think Alex, you had a question on Daka as well, like similar lines to that, didn't you?
Yeah, just with these young players, they're always compared to different players, either currently playing now or have played before. If there was a player that you could compare Daka to, who would that be?
Well, this is all in the article. He was challenged to become the next Samuel Eto'o. Now, I don't think he's completely like that. I mean, Eto'o links play very well. We looked at, for another article that's on the Athletic website we did a couple of weeks ago, we looked at his style of play. He loves to play on the shoulder of the last defender. As I said, fantastic pace. His link-up play doesn't get involved too much in that, but neither does Jamie Vardy. So this is what the recruitment and the analysts at Leicester City have been looking at now, strikers that fit that similar bill, because that's the way Leicester City want to play. That's their blueprint. and it's been very successful for them so far. So they're trying to look at somebody who's a natural successor. I'm not saying he's the same as Vardy, because there is only one Jamie Vardy. He is unique. I think they were very, very realistic about it when they started looking for potential strikers and decided, look, there's no point trying to find another Jamie Vardy, because there isn't one. Let's try and find somebody that we can work with, that can fit the system, that can play in a similar type of way, in a similar system. And they've come down to Patson. And so hopefully he does the job.
Yes, let's see. So, Alan, do you have any questions on transfers as well? I know you have a few.
Well, it's more of a contract question regarding Tielemans, because obviously what we're seeing about it has gone slightly quiet whilst he's at the Euros. But do you know how likely it is that he'll be signing an extension? And if so, what the structure of it will be?
I've spoken a couple of times to his advisor, and now he's got two advisors. We've got an advisor that's a football advisor and one that does all the negotiating. And I've spoken to the football guy, and he stresses to me that Yuri is happy at Leicester City. He loves it. He's developing, he's playing, he's becoming an integral part of the team. They're successful. They've won the FA Cup. Brendan loves him. He likes Brendan. That contract offer is on the table, but I think they're just holding off to see a little bit if there's a mega club that's going to come in for him. Now I have to stress, Leicester would be demanding a lot of money for him. He's still got a couple of years on his contract. But this is what Leicester do. They're trying not to leave themselves vulnerable. They try to get their best young talent on long-term contracts, solely because if somebody does come in, and you got to be realistic as well. There will be clubs coming in. We've seen it once every summer comes in, and we see them depart, but it's always on Leicester City's terms. Mm-hmm. I mean, with Mahrez, he had to wait for his. Harry had to wait for his, signed a new contract, but then got his move to Man United. But it's always for big money. So we've seen a few deals now. I mean, Jadon Sancho looks like it's done tonight, from what I'm reading. So we're starting to see a few big deals, but it'll only be the mega clubs spending money in this window. I mean, Leicester have already committed for over 40 million if they get Samari and Daka's obviously signed. I don't think there'll be a lot more in the pot unless some players move out. So they've got to be realistic about it. But I think Leicester, I wouldn't say they're relaxed about it, but they've been there before. This is familiar territory for them, in terms of interest in one of their major players. So they'll see how it plays out of the summer. That contract will still be there. Tielemans will be one of the highest earners at the club. He'll be looked after. He'll be nurtured. He'll be one of the future leaders in that internal group that they've had for a number of years now, the players' management group. And he will step up now. I mean, Andy King's moved on. He was one of them. Wes Morgan, obviously, has retired. He was one of them. So I can see Yuri being elevated now into being one of the leaders inside the dressing room. It all depends what he wants to do, really. I mean, if a Liverpool comes in and offers 70, 80 million for him, then he might be going. But at the moment, there doesn't seem to be any sign of that. And I have to stress as well, in the past, with those deals in the summer, except for the N'Golo Kante one right at the start when he had that release clause, all of them we've sort of known going into the transfer window that the likelihood is that they'll be moving on. We went into this transfer window and there wasn't really an inkling. There was a few rumours around Tielemans, but there's been nothing concrete. So we'll see what happens after the Euros.
I think over the years we've been getting transfers in, and Leicester City have known to get young players in, bring them up. It's fantastic. But you look at the likes of Daka and Samare; these players were linked to some of the biggest clubs. We're looking at the likes of Liverpool and looking at the likes of Chelsea for both of them. So I think you were saying before, you're right. We were looking in a different market. Now we're going head to head with some of the players that are competing for that top 4 position with massive money. So on Samori, obviously, what kind of player is he? But B, it does seem like Leicester are moving in the right direction and getting players that we've seen on our channel before. Other fans are quite annoyed about that they haven't gone after even now. It's
because the big clubs hesitate. They're not sure. I can remember a famous quote from Arsene Wenger around the time Riyad Mahrez suddenly hit the headlines in this country, suddenly grabbed the limelight at Leicester. And he said, look, we were looking at him as well. in the French second tier, but he was £450,000. And can you imagine the outcry from Arsenal fans if they spent £450,000 on a player? You know, they're Arsenal; they're supposed to be spending millions, and but Leicester just went in and got the deal done. And excuse me, it's the same with. Sorry, I just had my tea. It's the same with Samari and Daka. Other clubs have been looking at them, and other clubs looked at Maddison. Other clubs looked at some of the other signings they've made, but they've not taken the plunge. And what Leicester City have done is they've analysed them in incredible detail, and they've just gone, right, okay, we'll make a move before everybody else does, and that's what they do. And it's brave. It's very brave. It's the courage of their conviction in terms of their recruitment process, their analytics, their scouting, and they just take the plunge. And sometimes it won't work out. Cengiz Under didn't work out. I mean, fortunately, that was a loan, so there wasn't a massive financial risk there. But you know, invariably, it's worked for them. And I just got to keep believing in the process that they've got, because they are the envy of so many clubs in so many ways, not just in the recruitment, but the ownership. I mean, the amount of we did a really nice piece, I thought, after the FA Cup final, looking at Top, his influence and that day, and there was images of him clutching that FA Cup like it was a newborn child, and the image of his father in the top tier at Wembley looking down, and the fact that Tielemans wore number 8, which was Vichai's lucky number, and Vichai would have been 63 this year, and the goal came in the 63rd minute. Talk about it was meant to be. It was meant to be. And, you know, there are loads of comments we had from fans of other clubs saying we're so jealous, especially with the Super League. And we saw all the protests outside Chelsea and Manchester United in particular. Fans of other clubs are a little bit jealous of Leicester because of the ownership they've got. I mean, they've got the history, they've got the global reach, they've got the trophies in the cabinet, and Leicester are starting to add theirs. But you know, they've got miles behind in terms of a global profile. But they're still envious of the ownership and the recruitment of Leicester City.
Yeah, I mean, it is insane. I know, Alex, you've got a question about left backs as well, whilst we're doing transfers as well.
Yeah, so it seems like there's been a lot of talk regarding left backs. You know, there's been mention of Gosens and as well also with Bertrand. But is there any other names that have been passed around? Because I feel like there's that one position that has been talked about so much in the past couple of months and probably all of last year, especially with James Justin being injured. Is there any other names that have been kind of mentioned in the rumor mill about possibly who we could sign?
Well, Tierney was mentioned, but that's absolute no-goer. But the reality of the pandemic and the financial impact means that, and the emergence of Luke Thomas last season, I don't think anybody was really expecting that. I've spoken to a few people, and I spoke to Wes about him when I did a piece with Wes recently, and he said, "You will not believe this kid." He said he stepped up, and like he was in the under 18s, then he stepped up to under 23s, but nobody sort of expected him to make that step up. But nothing phases him. Absolutely nothing phases him. It doesn't matter. He can come up against the biggest players in the world on the biggest stage. And this kid just seems to have the temperament to deal with it. You know, he's played in an FA Cup final and he's only just started his career. And so I think they've changed their thinking on what they want to do at left back. I mean, they kept Christian because they knew they needed a backup there, but I don't think Timothy Castagne was the left back replacement for Ben Chilwell that everybody thought he was. I thought they thought James Justin would do it, and at first, you know, at the start of the season, we was all expecting James Justin to play right back at West Brom, Castagne to play left back. We got there, it's the other way round, and James Justin was just a phenomenon. And Wes said to me, he said, "Look, if he'd stayed fit, we probably would have got Champions League." You know, he rates him that highly. So I think they've changed their thinking. I think they see Luke and James Justin as the long-term solutions at left back. So that's why Ryan Bertrand is now the option that they're looking at, and they've offered him a 2-year contract. He hasn't signed it yet because, you know, understandably, he's 31. He's looking around. If somebody offers him 3 on the same terms, he's going to look after his own future, understandably so. But it's a tempting one for him, 2 years. So we'll see. And then obviously he won't commit straight away, but we'll see how that one pans out. But I think Gossens now, I think those sort of deals now financially are not possible because of the pandemic. Same with I've seen so much stuff about Coutinho and all this. Like the wages, they will never. I mean, they would shatter what is special at Leicester City if they paid somebody £250,000 a week to come into Leicester City. I mean, the rest of the lads on less than half of that. I mean, that would just destroy that team ethic, that bond that they have, that togetherness, that we're all equal sort of thing. And so I think that's out the window. But I think they're just looking at James Justin and Luke as the future at left back.
Yeah, I definitely agree there. And I think, yeah, you're right. There's loads of stuff that we were looking at left back, but no, that's really insightful as well. Any other transfers or any other thing you've got, and before we continue?
The last one's a rumour that's picked up a bit of pace over the last couple of weeks, and it's gone a little bit quieter over the last few days. Is James Maddison to Arsenal? Is there any truth in this, or is it?
Yeah, it's another Tielemans situation. It's another Tielemans situation. It's there's nothing concrete. It's a lot of rumour. Look, I would be surprised if there was an interest in James Maddison. He'd be doing something wrong if there wasn't interest in James Maddison. But again, he would be very expensive for them to do if they decided to do it. But Leicester City will be prepared. I mean, they always try as well to plan ahead. They always try and protect themselves in terms of if there's a huge offer for one of their players, and they've experienced it every summer, as I said, that there's some sort of succession plan. So they will be looking at that as well. And they'll have identified a possible replacement for James Maddison if that does come to pass. And I think in ways that's one of the reasons why Samare is potentially coming in. I mean, that's nearly done. It's really so close. I think there's an agreement between the clubs and the players, so it's just a case of waiting for paperwork and being able to do the medicals and stuff like that. The pandemic has complicated so many things. But if you look at Samari, he is almost like a hybrid of Ndidi and Tielemans in the way he plays. Doesn't offer a massive amount in the final third, only one goal in his senior career, but he's got physicality. And he's not just a sitting midfielder. He can bomb forward. He loves to carry the ball. So they're looking at, say, well, okay, if somebody comes in with huge money for Ndidi or somebody comes in with huge money for Tielemans, we've got somebody that can play both roles. And that's what they're trying to do, I think. They're just trying to protect themselves and progress at the same time.
So, yes, just such an amazing thing to say as well. And one thing I want to touch on as well, there's been a few players linked to outgo from Leicester City. One of them being Dennis Pratt. I mean, I think he's been so unlucky with injuries, and you can tell. I think he's one of a Leicester City. I know James, who couldn't make it tonight. He's a huge Dennis Pratt fan as well, and he's always talking about him. But it looks like he's on his way out because of the likes of you were just saying before. Some more race coming into the club, and is he just weighing up his options at the moment, or is that a person that's looking to leave?
He at the end of the Euros, he'll probably look at his options, but again, he's under contract, so it'd have to be something that's acceptable for Leicester City. And Brendan's talked about him at the end of last season. I think the press conference just before the Tottenham game, he was asked by Jordan Blackwell from the Leicester Mercury about Dennis, because we haven't seen a lot of him since he come back from the hamstring. And he said, look, he's just been really, really unlucky because, he's been playing in that number 10 and he offers something different at number 10. He's a running 10. I mean, I did a feature about him running past Jamie Vardy in the opening game of the season. He's not a Madison Perez that floats and tries to find the pockets of space and turn and play people in. He runs beyond Vardy to try and force defences back, because that makes the back four, back five retreat, because they don't want to give away space for somebody like him running in behind. So he offered them something different. But second half of the season, we saw very little of him. I mean, that hamstring was so cruel at Stoke. I mean, we knew it was a serious one straight away, the way he pulled up. But I think he's just a bit frustrated because he's been at the club a couple of years now. He's not played as much football as he wants to. He's of that age now where he wants to be playing regular. he might be fearing that his international situation might be affected by a lack of club football. So I think he might be something that he's looking at. But Leicester City are at that level now. They're pushing for that level now where they can't give a Dennis Pratt guarantees that he's going to be playing week in, week out. You know, they're aiming high. So it might be that if there's interest and somebody puts in an appropriate bid, he might be going. There might be a couple of us as well. Papi Mendy. I mean, Hamza Chowdhury was the one that, you know, we were really surprised in January when we had a press conference and we asked about Hamza, and Brendan basically said, look, he's for sale. He basically said that. He said, look, if somebody wants to come in, you know, he's not going out on loan. If he's going to go out, he's going to go for a fee. And I think they're in a position now where they know they've got to generate some money to make further additions. I know they want to do a bit more business. They want a left-footed winger. They want somebody like that. They want to increase their attacking options. I personally think they need a centre-back as well with Wes retiring. I don't think they've got enough cover there. I don't know whether really they're looking at it. People talk about Tarkowski, but that's too expensive now. I mean, but you know, that there was an opportunity perhaps a year ago, or perhaps even further back. I think that ship sailed now. Personally, I think he's getting to an age where he's probably going a bit old, unless it gets to a situation where you get Johnny Evans that lands on your doorstep for £3.5 million. What a bargain that was! You're not going to get that for Tarkowski. So I personally think they might use the loan market like they did last time with Cengiz. They might have a look around and see who's available to come in, but they need cover. But those three for Fanussi, Evans, and when Justin's back. And we've got to give Justin time as well, because we've seen Ricardo, you know, it takes you time to get back from an ACL. I mean, that was a career-ending injury in my day. And now, you know, they're coming back within 6-9 months. It's incredible, but they're not the same player for a while. So I think you'll see Ricky getting back to his best this season, and hopefully towards the end of next season, James Justin, you might start seeing him getting back to it.
Yeah. No, that's interesting, especially about that. In terms of the left back and Hamza Chowdhury. Obviously, he was one of my favourite players. I think these guys know. I talk about Hamza Chowdhury all the time because the potential for him to be. Look at them smiling. The potential for him, in my opinion, was there. But I know, Alex, you've got a question on Danny Ward as well.
Yeah, just with just with how he played in the Euros this year. Is there any talk about him, you know, being linked to other clubs? Because I know, you know, I think he's just, for me personally, I think he's just biding his time to take over as number one eventually here at Leicester when, you know, Schmeichel gets a little bit older. But do you see any clubs, you know, in and around the Premier League, you know, coming to Leicester and being like, is he available? Because he's the starter on a lot of Premier League clubs, in my opinion.
He is. He is a fantastic goalkeeper, isn't he? I mean, every time I've seen him, I remember vividly the League Cup game at Wolves when he came in for a rare appearance, and I think he saved 3 penalties, including in the shootout that night. And he is a great goalkeeper. And you don't pay £12 million for a goalkeeper unless you think he's eventually going to step up. But he's been unfortunate that he's got Kasper Schmeichel in front of him, who is one of the world's best goalkeepers. I mean, he's proving it again, not just his shot stopping, not just his performance in goal, not just his distribution, but his leadership. I mean, we all saw his leadership when Christian Eriksen collapsed against Finland, and you know he's going to be the club captain. So he's such an integral part of Leicester City now, and I can't see. I mean, perhaps when they signed Danny, they, as I said to you about succession and planning ahead, perhaps they thought there might be somebody coming in for Kasper, and they went for Danny because they thought he was excellent. So Danny's been unfortunate, but there will come a stage where Danny will look at himself and think, well, I'm getting to an age now really where I want to be playing regular, because, you know, you can't be in a position where you're playing more times for your country than you are for your club in a season, especially when you're as good as him. I mean, but they've got so many good goalkeepers at Leicester. Danny Iverson is a good goalkeeper. They've got the Polish lad that's been playing in the under-23s. They've got a young American goalkeeper who's been training with the first team.
There's another one now as well, isn't there? From Hartlepool.
They are the recruitment has been. I mean, I know you want to ask about under 23s, but
Yeah.
the recruitment they don't just aim for. They don't just look at recruiting for the first team, the under 23s as well, the under 18s. They try. I mean, Ben Shaw was a classic example. Getting him in when he was he was released early on. They do try and bring in young talent and try and develop them, because they know that's going to save a massive amount of money if that player comes good.
Yeah, definitely agree there. I've just got one more question. Speaking of the under 23s, Tavares, I mean, he had a fantastic game for the 60 minutes that he played against Brighton. He ended up winning the game, and then everything's just gone quiet about that. I don't know if you've got any more knowledge about Tavares, because it's one player that we saw could potentially be the future, as you were saying, of this under 23 stepping up to the Premier League, and he had a fantastic game. But any news on that, because that's gone quiet as well?
Yeah, it has gone quiet. I mean, I did a feature on Sydney, and I spoke to his dad.
Yes,
and they were saying there was interest in him, and but they wanted to stay at Leicester. But I have to be honest, I haven't got an update because I haven't pursued that for the last. I've been focused so much on Dakar and Samari and the Euros and Casper and Castagna and all that. Everything that's gone on. Sydney sort of slipped through the cracks, so I'll have to pick that up tomorrow.
Yeah. Fair enough, no problem there. And have you got any more questions in terms of outgoings or anything so far?
No, I think we've just about covered everything I've got written down.
Yeah, it's quite a lot. But yeah, anyway, as you were saying, Rob, we'll just move on to the under 23s again. I can't remember the exact. I wish I'd wrote it down somewhere in February, where I saw a tweet where it was somebody had said that Leicester City are really stepping up their game in terms of the under 18s and under 23s. And the keeper that I mentioned earlier that Chelsea were rumored to get, the 19 years old. Man United they've just bought a player from Popov, and Liverpool have just signed. We've just signed Jack Lewis on Liverpool, and I've got a quote here that says, "There's a clearer path to the first team." So it is seen now as Leicester are a club that A, are at a good position, but B, they are recruiting players into that first team. So as you were saying, they do step up players, but at the same time, I think other clubs from the traditional top six are coming to us to develop, to then move into the Premier League, and they're seeing it as a genuine move to come into our squad.
Well, they've looked at the first team squad and they've seen the pathway. There is a pathway from the under 18s, under 23s through into the first team. I mean, Kiernan Dewsbury-Hall just had a phenomenal season at Luton, and there's a pathway for him. There's an opportunity for him in the pre-season, and I know he's highly rated at Leicester as well. We Harvey Barnes. I mean, if you look at the Harvey's progression, Ben Chill, whatever we knows all about Ben, and there's so many Hamza. There's so many that have come through, and Leicester have invested a lot in their academy structure. They're very proud of it, and I think that a lot of that is to do with the fact that John Rudkin was the academy director. Now, he's director of football at the club, so it's his little baby, the academy and the under 23s. And Steve Beaglehole, he's an underrated character at the club. Well, probably not internally at the club, but probably externally. He's a phenomenal guy, and the way he can develop young talents and put them on the right pathways should never be underestimated, in my opinion. He's an asset to Leicester City, Steve. Vastly experienced coach. Fantastic with I've not spoken to a young player that's come through that's worked with Steve that has anything nasty to say to him or negative to say about him. They're just so thankful for him. Even the older players, Dean Hammond, said how helpful he was when his career finished, and he got him into coaching as well in the academy. So, they've got a really good structure there. And what I love about Leicester City and the academy and stuff as well is that they're all included with the first team. They're not like separate. They're down that training ground. They eat together, and they see what it's about. And Brendan's been bringing in loads of the youngsters to train with the first team as well. I expect that'll be the same in pre-season. They'll all be training with the first team and getting a feel for it, learning off the senior fellas that are around them, looking up to their mentors, and that can only make you a better footballer. I think Kiernan might be the next one through. I mean, as I said, Luke's been incredible, and they'll be looking now as well and trying to bring in more that are going to be developed at the club and then potentially be in that first team.
Yeah, I mean, as you were saying, it's really exciting. I'm just, especially with Daka announced, and it's just getting me so excited to get this over and done with. But as in, like, not in a bad way for the Euros, but just to get back to regular club football. Alex, do you have any more questions on this as well? Any questions you want to ask?
I do actually. One player that I'm thinking about who on the under-23 team is Daley Campbell. We did see a little bit of him last season, but do you expect him to possibly get more opportunity this season coming?
You might do. And again, pre-season is going to be important for him. I mean, there's going to be lads away. I mean, Castagne's not going to be able to take too much part in pre-season now because that was quite a nasty facial injury he got on international duty with Belgium at the Euros. So, I can see Ivonte getting a few opportunities, and he's another one. You know, he's got a fantastic temperament. He's got a backstory as well. You know, he's come out from a rough area, London, and fought his way through, kept his nose dry, if you like, not being distracted. He's a phenomenal athlete, incredibly strong, quick. He looked good, didn't he, on his debut? I've not seen many debuts like that when you go, you know, he just looks part of it already. He just looks settled. He looks like this isn't a step up for him. He's there already. So, we'll see. That's going to be an interesting one. James Justin out as well. So I can see Vontae getting a few opportunities.
Yeah, that definitely. I can see that too. As you were saying, I forgot about how Timothy Castagne will miss pretty much part of pre-season, but hopefully he has speedy recovery. And any other questions that you've got?
It's sort of been asked, but it's slightly different. Obviously, you said about Dewsbury Hall and Devonta Campbell coming through. Is there anyone else in the under-23s that you'd say that we should be keeping an eye out for next year that could potentially be getting towards a first-team squad?
See, the pathway, the plan for a lot of them is to go out on loan. George Hurst went out on loan, didn't really get an opportunity at Rotherham. So I can imagine he'll go out on loan again at a different club, because what Leicester's trying to do with the loans is trying to pick the right club for them, where they're going to get an opportunity. They did it superbly with Harvey. Mm-hmm. If you look at his progression, MK Dons, Barnsley, West Brom, every time a step up, a new challenge. So I think they'll be looking at Dewsbury Hall to see if he's ready, and if he's not going to play much football this season, he might go on another loan, but to another level of club, you know. I know he's already in the Championship and done very well at Luton. And Luton is a great club, by the way. All my dealings with them, they're fantastic. What a lovely family club Luton Town is. But if they want to push him a bit higher, you know, perhaps a team that's going to be challenging for promotion to the Premier League, or even if somebody wants to take him, a Premier League side, a newly promoted Premier League side that thinks he's got the potential to step up. So they'll be looking at that. So it's very hard to predict, and I wouldn't want to put too much pressure on any young clubs and say, look, he's going to be the next one. But no, I mean, we've seen the lad at Leuven has been out there a couple of years, and I know there's a big difference between English football and Belgian football in that sense. But we've seen Belgian players come over and do fantastic, especially at Leicester City. So we'll see.
Yeah, and another one as well is Kamal Sowa, and I've seen him training with the lad. Yes. So is potentially he could be, because I know he plays on the right, and that's a position. If we're playing like a 4-2-3-1, we have Marco Bright, but we need kind of more cover. That potentially could be somebody as well. Just want to move on a little bit more towards how it's been obviously covering Leicester City, as you were saying. I know you've got you were saying as well, you've got a book coming out as a 5,000 to 1 a follow up as well.
Yeah, I'm doing I've finished a new edition of 5,000 to 1 that's going to cover. It's going to be 5 extra chapters covering the last 5 years, because it's been so eventful. And I mean, I've been so lucky. I have to be honest, I didn't know a massive amount about Leicester City when I came over from the West Midlands to join the Mercury in 2009. And at the time, they'd just been promoted back to the Championship from League One. They're just recovering from the lowest ebb in the club's history. And I've been incredibly lucky to cover the greatest period in the club's history. It's been phenomenal. It's been a fairy tale. And sometimes, you know, I did an interview with Christian Fuchs for a feature that's going to be run on The Athletic. So, you know, I said, look, you look back at your 6 years at Leicester City and you come to a club that you thought who's going to be in a relegation battle could potentially go down to the Championship. You could be playing second tier English football, and you took that risk. And look what you've achieved. Look what they've all achieved. It's been a phenomenal ride, and it's an incredible story. And I know they're planning to make a movie on Jamie Vardy's career, but they could make a movie on Leicester City's career, and people would think it was made up. Some of the things that have happened, all the drama that we've experienced, good and bad, and it's been such a phenomenal period.
Yeah, I can imagine. I think obviously covering Leicester for that period of time that you've seen as well, and now with working with the Athletic, I know you said there's some amazing reporters over there. However, I think to a certain extent there must be a slight bit of envy covering Leicester City just because of the story, and it's never a boring season, and it's never a boring result, and just how. Just in terms of the way that Leicester City stock has just gone up over the last 5 years, as you were saying.
Yeah, it is. But still, I don't think that the national media, to a large extent, take a lot of notice of Leicester or even give them a lot of the credit, really. I think the focus is always going to be on the big six because they've got the massive fan bases. They've got the big readerships. Mm-hmm. So, so I can quietly go about my business. Leicester City like to go quietly about their business as well, to be honest. I mean, I don't think they really try and court too much publicity. I mean, but if they want to be a global brand on a par, well, not on a par, but close to some of the clubs that they're achieving, they need to probably promote themselves as well a bit and show off what they're fantastic at doing. I know they like to keep it a secret because they don't want anybody else to copy it, but it's amazing. I mean, I was out, lucky enough to go out. This is how much it's changed. I mean, when I first started, we'd have pre-season. In fact, my first game I watched was in my hometown club, Tamworth versus Leicester City in a pre-season friendly. That was the first time I knew I was joining the Mercury. And I went and watched them, and then you have pre-seasons, seeing them at Ilkeston and all these places. And then after they won the title, I was able to fly out to LA to see them against PSG, then Stockholm to see them against Messi and Barcelona. And, in LA, I was watching training one day and I turned to my left and I thought, I recognise that fella. It was Engelbert Humperdinck. And then I was given a nudge to say, right, this afternoon, Shinji Okazaki and Christian Fuchs are going to meet Will Ferrell, another part of LA. It was like we went to a sports store where some of the lads were going to be turning up with the trophy, the Premier League trophy, for a meet and greet. And I drove down this part of Santa Monica, and I wasn't sure where the sports shop was. Well, I was given the biggest indication by the massive snake of people that were queuing all the way around the block to get in. Suddenly they were box office. And, it was incredible, really, the change. And, Hong Kong, went to Hong Kong. I mean, that was another one that was... that was a real indicator to me of global branding because everybody's Liverpool shirts were Liverpool. Mm-hmm. I mean, I did the Dakar feature and the guys in Zambia were saying we're all Liverpool fans. Dakar's a Liverpool fan. Everybody's a Liverpool fan. Now we're a Leicester fan. And I think they are slowly trying to, that fairy tale, the underdog story is starting to win a lot of fans over. I mean, there you are, Alex, in Canada. There's fan groups all over the US now. I regularly get asked to go on a podcast in Australia to talk about Leicester City. So they are starting to get that global reach.
Yeah. What do you think about that? Any questions in terms of like the Leicester brand or anything?
Alex, can I ask you a question?
Yeah, absolutely.
What was it about Leicester City that made you become a fan? Is it a family? Is it connection? Or is it you just got drawn into this story?
So my family's originally way back in the day from Sunderland. Like we're talking like 150 years ago. So, but we've always kind of watched Sunderland football. But when I was around, it was when we won 5-2 back in like the early 2000s, when we beat them 5-2. And, I had my grandfather's watching the game and, Sunderland fan. But I'm over here in Canada and I cheer for the Toronto Maple Leafs who wear blue jerseys. Mm-hmm. And I just pointed at the screen going like, oh, there's a blue team. So I immediately was like, this is the team I want to cheer for. And, hypothetically, it was more of like a blue team chose them. And then I kind of followed them, throughout the years, but I wasn't really committed until about 2009, 2010. And then I really started watching them. And at that point, I was like, wow, now I'm laughing because I chose a team that I didn't expect was, this story was going to unfold. As a Leaf fan here in Canada, my hockey team hasn't won anything since 1967. So it's such a great little change.
Mirror.
Just like lovely roller coaster to experience.
Oh, so your experience is very similar to mine.
Yeah.
Well, you've connected with Leicester City around that time, 2009, 2010, and just ridden this incredible roller coaster since.
Yeah, pretty much. I think that's one of the cool things is that you connect on. For me, I started following when I was young, kind of lost track, but then when I came back to it, that experience, I'm never going to forget it because it's just something that I'm so blessed to be a part of.
Wonderful. I like other people's stories.
And we're going to have hopefully a few of them coming up. I'm trying to organise some more international fans to come on the show as well. Any other questions for you, Anne, in terms of Leicester City as brand? Because again, they are definitely going place in terms of transfers and stuff.
Yeah, it's with the sponsorship this year. Obviously, we've seen a change away from King Power for the first time in a long time as the shirt sponsor. Was that purely a financial decision?
Yeah, I think it is really. I think that's just a way to generate more revenue. They've got to be creative. £67 million loss in the last financial record. That only covers part of the pandemic, but that also included the rebates to the TV companies. Even though they got to show every single game, you still had to pay them back. I just think when fans come back, we'll be able to get back to normal. And it was encouraging to see so many fans at Wembley for England, Germany. We're hoping, although obviously we're fingers crossed about this rise in cases now, that we might have substantial amount of fans in the stadium, and it would make a world of difference because Leicester are about their fans on match day. The fan store, they invested a lot of money in that fan store. A lot of money was spent in there. Obviously, no match days, revenues lost, sponsorship, corporates. It's not just your season tickets, not just your casual fans turning up for the game. There's a lot of revenue that Leicester would rely on more so, ironically, than the bigger clubs, who, as I said, have got a massive global reach.
Yeah, it's definitely improving over the years. Alex, have you got any other questions on the brand or anything?
No, you guys have answered all the questions.
Fair enough. I've got one more as well in terms of obviously the recruitment and how Leicester have done. We've seen them, obviously, Leicester going to that bigger scale now where you're looking at reports like Romano actually reporting on Leicester News, which, again, I wouldn't have thought 2 or 3 years ago. Do you see what I mean? So we are kind of moving to a level where other fans and other people are paying attention to Leicester City. And coming on to that, obviously the kit is slightly different this year in terms there's more of a pattern compared to the plain kits or the standard template kits they're called as well. So in terms of that, do you think that is this the kind of level that we're moving up to? I'm not too sure about the tiers of kits, but it does look like we're going to that next level now.
Well, yeah, absolutely. In terms of the amount of players Leicester City get linked with, I think it's a massive indication of their growing status, because now the vast majority of those links and those rumours are false, and they're generated because either a club or an agent wants to use the name of Leicester City to promote their player or try and smoke out interest in a player. And because Leicester City got that reputation now, they'll say, well, Leicester City are in for him, and they go, whatever club they're talking to, I go, well, okay, we don't want to miss out on Leicester City. And if Leicester City are looking at this player, he must be a good player. So you're going to see a lot of that. I think my last year at the Leicester Mercury, the last summer transfer window, they were linked with over 100 players. Now, never in a month of Sundays were they scouting that many players. Their scouting process is, it's historic. They'll watch a player for a number of years before they go for him. Daka Sumeri, they've been looking at for a long time. They've been on their radar. So whether they sometimes use the historic interest, perhaps they look at a player and then move on, and they say, "Oh, Leicester City are in for him," but they're not actually. I think that's an indication to me of the growing status of Leicester City, because there was a period when Leicester City weren't linked with hardly any players, and when signings were made, it was completely out of the blue. But now, they are more of a global player. They are a bigger player. The fact that they've managed to sustain a top 10 challenge, top 6 in the last 2 years, top 4 in the last 2 years, only to drop out in the last game of the season, is an indication of how far they've come, how much they've still got to do as well, because their ambition is to stay in the top 4 all season. But it's difficult because the clubs they're competing against, I think people think that Leicester City, because they've spent a few quid over the last few years and they've got Brendan now and they've got some good players, that they've got a sort of an automatic right to be in the top 4. It's been a phenomenal effort over the last 2 years, and they've not been able to sustain it at the end for various reasons. Last season, I thought it was lack of experience. This season, I thought the injuries and the fatigue, it was just too much towards the end. The emotion of the FA Cup, winning the FA Cup, which we all wanted, didn't we? Yeah. I mean, that was the trophy. I mean, to have that record of being to the most finals without ever lifting that trophy. And for me, the FA Cup's still special because I'm of that generation. So that was phenomenal. But it was disappointing at the end. They couldn't hold on, but I think there was fair reasons for that. I know there was a few fans that took to social media a bit unhappy, but be under no illusion, Leicester City are on the right path. They're going in the right direction. They're doing a lot of things right. Their recruitment's good. I'm really excited about some of the players they're trying to bring in now. If they can keep Tielemans and Maddison, even more so. I think they've got a fantastic manager in Brendan Rodgers. Another guy that is much maligned in many ways because of the documentary he did with Liverpool and sort of some of the rhetoric that he used to use early in his day. I mean, but he's a fantastic communicator. I mean, I sit in Zoom meetings and it's like chalk and cheese to Claude Puel. I mean, obviously there was the language barrier, but Claude was very low key. Brendan is really positive, answers everything honestly. He's really engaging as well. I love the fact that he uses journalist names, makes it personal. I mean, Nige used to have the, them and us scenario. We're all football people, you're civilians sort of thing. Here's the enemy, the journalists. It's very different with Brendan. He makes you feel welcome. And it's been really good. It's been really good so far now. So I'm really looking forward to the new season. Looking forward to the end of the Euros as well. And I'm really positive about having another fantastic season covering Leicester City.
No, I think next season is going to be. We say that every season, but this season especially feels definitely.
Hopefully,
yes.
We're going to get to travel. We're going to get to travel. Hopefully, for the Europa League, because we missed out on all of that last year. I wasn't saying I was looking forward to a trip to Ukraine, but some of the other ones, would have been fantastic. And having had the experience of the Champions League, in the 16-17 season, going to Bruges, Copenhagen, Porto, Seville was beautiful. Madrid, not so much. But if we can have that experience again, see Leicester City flags flying from pubs in various parts of Europe again, that would be nice.
Where's on your list that a destination to tick off and potentially we see football there as well? Because Portugal would have been quite nice last year.
Oh, Italy would be good because obviously the football culture. I've never been there. I mean, because of my personal background, I follow Borussia Mönchengladbach, and they're not in it this year. But I'd love to cover a Leicester game at Borussia Park. That'd be amazing. But I mean, Italy would be good. There's so many places. I mean, I've been to Spain. Belgium was lovely. Bruges was a beautiful place. We've done that one, haven't we? So France, I don't think we've done one in France. No. So as long as it's not Atletico Madrid again. They haven't been in Europe many times, but they always seem to end up playing Atletico Madrid. Let's have somebody else for a change.
But it was back at the King Power. That was a hell of a game. Again, just as a spectacle. Yeah. Oh, that was the atmosphere in the city just from the beginning of the day, just like the FA Cup final. When they have a day like that, that's special. It makes the city just come alive. It's absolutely amazing.
Seville as well, wasn't it? Seville, what a wonderful evening that was.
Yeah. Any other questions for you, Ant, before I kind of get through to quick fire round?
No, I think we've I was going to say we've gone through everything I wrote down. We did that about 20 minutes ago. So, yeah, that's me all finished.
Brilliant. Okay, well, I've got a couple of quick fire questions. Obviously, one of them is your thoughts on VAR. Obviously, we've seen it completely differently in terms of the Premier League and the Europa League, the Euros, used in not completely different ways, in very different formats, even though it's the same technology. Just want to get your thoughts on that in general.
I think fans need to be included a bit more. I mean, obviously, we haven't had fans in the stadium, so there hasn't been the need for that to some extent. But I think fans shouldn't be in the dark about what they're reviewing. They should be told, like in rugby, where the referee's mic'd up. We'd like to be able to. I think we should hear what the conversations are, what they're looking for. I think we've gone too forensic with VAR in this country. I mean, the offside, all this is his armpit offside, all that rubbish. I hate that. If you can't see from a replay visibly with your eye whether he's, what happened to being level? You're onside. How many goals have we seen when it's like a millimeter or a toe? We want to see goals. We want to see excitement. We want to see, free scoring games. We want to see attacking football. I'd change that personally. But I always said when VAR come in, it's not going to end the controversy because it still comes down a lot of the times, and certainly with the tackles and red cards, and we saw it last night in the Sweden-Ukraine game. One person's opinion of a tackle could be very different to somebody else's, so it's always subjective. So it still always comes down to one person's opinion of what they just seen. So that's no different to when we had a referee before. It amazes me. I mean, I think in the same game last night, I saw a free kick given when the referee wasn't even looking. He had his back to the game. Sometimes referees guess, and I think it still needs a lot of work, VAR. But I'd stick with it. I mean, the goal line technology, nobody argues with that anymore. Nobody, because that is perfect. If it, should be perfect, but Aston Villa got away with it, didn't they? And they stayed in the Premier League on the back of that, and then had a great season last season. But
just one.
Usually it's perfect. But I just think we need to work it through. But I think in England we need to have a little rethink about how we use it. And we need to look at how it's been used at the Euros and try and adopt that and speed it all up. Yes,
again, and the technology isn't exactly, it's objective. It's, as you were saying, it's the subjective nature which is the real problem.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, but that football will always be controversial. I mean, it's a fast-moving game. It's a fast-moving game. Things happen. I personally think that the lad last night, I know it looked terrible when you slow it all down. He's played the ball, but he's caught the guy on the knee, and he studs up and stuff like that. But he's looking at the ball. The ball's dropping. He's trying to play the ball. It's a really difficult one. That is, I probably wouldn't have sent him off, but I know a lot of people would totally disagree and thought it was a definite red card. So that's the nature of the game, isn't it?
Yeah, and you're always going to have something to talk about at the pub afterwards. That's just the nature of football as well. One thing I want to talk about as well. Do you have a favourite kit, or is there some kit that you've looked at and just gone, "Wow, that's fantastic"? So there's been a couple, not just Leicester City related, just in general.
Favorite kits. Now, when I was a kid, I loved football strips, and if somebody bought me a football shirt of whatever club, I thought that was amazing. Favorite kit at the moment, but the Euros or favorite Leicester kit,
whatever you prefer.
I actually, do you know what? I love the fact that Leicester have got gold in their kit now. I think that should be adopted for the future now. That I know they've done it for a number of years, but I like that little strip of gold in there. The fact that it's like gold is special. It's a winner's colour. So I quite like that. Favorite kits? No. Gordon Bennett. I mean, I remember when I started, it was Joman and Berda.
Yes.
Neither make were particularly great, were they? I mean, I think bits were falling off them when people were buying them and stuff like that. So it's fantastic. The last couple of years they've had Puma and Adidas, and I know you're looking good there, Anting, you in that strip. That looks smart, doesn't it? I just wish they made them a bit bigger for more rotund fans like me. Because they got all the leanings now for these natural athletes who are all ripped and Cristiano Ronaldo looking, and then I put it on. It doesn't quite look the same. Somehow.
Yeah, okay. less Gary Taylor Fletcher-esque.
I
Without
did like the Foss strip, the black with the blue sash. I quite like that.
Loros wasn't it sponsor as well for that one?
Yeah. I thought that was a nice kit.
Yeah, I've got some of them. Again, you were saying Jacko as well, 2008 kit. Because again, I've been supporting them around that same time as well. That you're interested. You were saying that because I'm essentially Generation Andy King from that perspective. Yeah. When he started playing, I came through and followed them. And again, it's been a hell of a
on, have you, Neil? Neil, you got the maroon. Sorry? You got the maroon.
Maroon, yeah, the maroon one. See? So
that is
this
now
one is hard to go by.
Yeah, that will be synonymous now with the FA Cup win. So
yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised if they have another maroon kit.
I didn't want to get the FA. I had a gamble at the time. I was at the store and it was 30% off. I was like, are they going to do it? I was like, let's just get it. Let's just do it. There was only a few in stock. I was like, they're going. Let's see what happens.
Now,
and
nobody can get them anymore.
They
can't get them anymore, can they now?
No. And Leicester City have always had a problem with printing kits, especially ones of recent as well. They couldn't keep up with the demand. And the final one I want to end on is kind of obviously England are playing, and is it coming home?
Oh, I ain't going to say that. I didn't think they would. I must admit, I was quite pessimistic going into the tournament because I thought the build-up was poor. The season had been so demanding on so many of the players. There'd been injuries. The lads that had gone had played in the Champions League and Europa League final weren't there for the Bournemouth games, and they were very uninspiring. And the opening games weren't that inspiring, but they got the job done. But last night, I was quite impressed, but I still think, you don't take Ukraine lightly because they will be well drilled, and also they won't play like the Germans. They won't come at England and open up and leave you space. They will sit so deep. Leicester see this all the time at home, and England are going to see this in Rome. Ukraine will sit deep, and it'll be hard to break them down. And if you might have to make some changes, you might need a Grealish in. Because I don't think the system they're playing against Germans will open up Ukraine quite so easily. And we've seen so many shocks at this tournament. So many big sides going out. I mean, I can't remember how many sides have got through to the last 8 that finished third in their group. I mean, it's so it's I'm not going to ever say it's coming home until they get to the final and actually do it, because we've seen so many false dawns with England before in tournaments. It's great to see them progressing. I'm enjoying that, but I think it's been a great tournament as well. There's only been a couple of duff games, and one of them was England-Scotland. But I think there's been some, really, really good football played, and I'm hoping they're going to go all the way.
We're hoping so as well. Any more questions, either Ant or Alex?
No, I'm done.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Rob, for coming on. We really appreciate it. And again, link to the Athletic down below. It's only £1 a month, I think. And then make sure to look out for Rob's book as well. What will it be? Have you thought of the name yet? Because I know that 5,000 to 1 was the story, and then this is the follow-up.
This is 5,000 to 1, but it's like the special edition. It's a bit like Close Encounters when they had the special edition come out, or Blade Runner, the final cut. It's going to be something like that.
And then we'll hopefully, if anything is to go by, there'll be another one in the next 5 years with even more drama, hopefully positively.
Champions League.
Yes.
Dilly Ding Dilly Dong.
Exactly.
That's what it'll be called. It'll be called Dilly Ding Dilly Dong if they win the Champions League.
That'll be brilliant. And then that's another trophy to add to the repertoire of all the trophies of Leicester Cup. But yes, Rob, thank you so much for joining it. It's been a pleasure to have you on and hear your insight again. We think we know a little bit about football, but obviously your knowledge is so insightful. So we'd like to just thank you once again.
There's so much more to know as well.
Yeah, I bet you there is, but we'd definitely love to have you on again. So we'd like to thank everybody for watching. Thank you for subscribing, all that good stuff. And we'll see everybody in the next video. So goodbye.